Hi everyone, it's Heidi here. Usually I do resin classes down at the shop, Riverside Beads and Crafts, but we decided to give you a little demonstration. Now this isn't one of the classes that we run, it's just a project that I did for myself whilst we were in lockdown, but it's a really nice one to do, and all the ingredients, as we like to call them, all the products are available at Riverside Beads and Crafts. Okay, so we'll start. We're going to be making, this is one of our MDF breadboards. Okay, and when you get them, they look like this, so completely plain. Okay, and I decided to do some resin on it. So we've got the resin on the front here, and then along the top and the sides here and here, if you can see, I've got gilding flakes that we sell in the shop. So that's something I did once this resin part was dry. So hopefully I'm going to show you how to do this and how I achieved it. Okay, so let's put this one to one side. First I started off with my resin kit from Riverside Beads. Okay, and this is the same resin that we use in our classes at the shop. It's made by Chemset, and this is the Eco Resin Gift Pack. So inside this pack we have some bottles and some containers. We also have some stirring sticks, which are lollipop sticks. This is a silicone block or an acrylic block, and it's used for resting your pieces of so bezels and things like that. You remove this top bit, which is a little plastic piece, and you rest your bezels, because some of the bezels, their little loops on them are dropped down slightly, so when you lay them on a flat surface they don't actually lay flat themselves. So that's what they put this one in for. These ones at the moment have a free gift in them, and this one's got a mould, so you can see there it's a mould for pendant shapes, which is rather nice as well. So you get a lovely free gift, and then you get your resin and your hardener. Now it comes in two parts, so you get the resin itself, which is this one, and then you get a hardener. Now when the hardener comes, it has a white lid on top of it, but you also get this dropper. So you take the white lid off and you put the dropper lid on, and it's to help you to decant the hardener. You also get 3 of these little pots, okay, and these can be reused. So once you've finished putting your resin into them and mixing it and maybe adding colour and things like that, leave them on the side to dry with a lollipop stick in them, and then once they're completely set, you pull the lolly stick and it will pull the resin out of the containers, because they're like silicone, they resist the resin. Okay, so you can keep reusing those. So I'm going to put these back in my box, because I've got mine ready to mix. So what I did, the process is you have double the amount of resin to hardener. So I used a small set of digital scales, which is similar to this sort of thing. Okay, and I weighed out, first of all I did the resin and I weighed out 44 grams, and then I measured out the hardener into the same cup. So obviously I tear the scales so that it goes to 0 again, and then I measured out 22 grams, which is half of the resin amount. So you've now got, I've got here hardener and resin together in the same cup. Now you need to so I'm just grabbing my phone so that I can, where's my clock, I'm going to time myself, because I want to do timer. I want to do 2 minutes. Okay, so you want to time yourself for oops, 2 minutes. Okay, so basically you want to time yourself for 2 minutes, stirring sort of very gently your resin. Okay, so we've got our tape on our board. You see the reflection. Actually, let's put the light on now. Okay, so we've got the tape on the board, and just make sure you go round it and just press really hard so that we're not going to get any residual resin. So I'm just, oops-a-daisy, pressing with my fingernail on the edge of the strip that's going to come into contact with the resin. Okay, now I'm going to put this, I've got silicone, oops-a-daisy, I've got silicone mats here, okay, and I've got a container to raise it up, so I can put the board on it and raise it up so that the resin can drop off it. Okay, so I'm now going to put my gloves on, and you really do need to wear some gloves, and obviously you can get these quite easily now. Any of the sort of pound stores and places like that do them, or you can use rubber gloves if you've got rubber gloves, just as good. So you do need to put these on because resin's very sticky and tacky, and it's very difficult to wash it off your hands. Soap and water and hot water, definitely. And I'm just going to put my apron on. So, okay, so you saw me stir my resin. Okay, now obviously what I've got here at the moment is clear. And on the other piece that I did, so if we look at this one, I've probably got maybe 3 or 4 colours in this. Now this one was done with pigment colours and acrylics. So I used acrylic paints and some of the resin pigments that you can get, and this gives you an opaque look. So I'm going to do some slightly different ones today because I'm going to use some transparent and some opalescent colours in there as well, but I'll show you what I'm using as I do them. Okay, so what we want to do is, I've got some little shot glasses, which anyone that's been on my my resin classes will know that I use these little just throwaway shot glasses. And so I'm going to use a few different types of things. So one of the things that I like to use is acrylics. So I've got, I thought I'm going to do a blue kind of mix today. You don't need much. Now this colour will be a definite opaque colour. So when you put acrylics in, it gives you a completely, you know, block colour. And obviously you can have it as light or dark as you want to, but it does give you an opaque colour. It won't, you won't be able to see through it, so it does give you that block. And then one of the other things that you can use, so I'm just going to do, whilst we're doing the acrylics, I'm just going to pour some white. And if you want to use like metallic acrylics or pearlescent, you can use those as well. They work exactly the same. You just don't want to add an awful lot of it, because the more pigments or alcohol inks or anything like that that you put in, the more chance there is of it not drying properly, because you're reducing, you know, you're adding to the liquid content in the with the resin and the hardener. Okay, so the other thing that you can add, you can also buy pinata colours, which are, they're an alcohol ink, but pinata is one of the ones that the resin workers usually use. And also, this is what we stock down at the shop, is the ordinary alcohol inks, okay, and they are absolutely fine. So I've got a blue. Now you only need a tiny bit of this. Now these alcohol inks will give you a transparent look, and obviously because it's alcohol inks, you need to work quickly with these because obviously they evaporate. So there's those two, and let's get a daisy, quick. Let's get my other two in, which are, I think this one's a white, or is it? No, this one's pearl. So it's a bit sort of, needs a bit more. This one's got a ball in it, so to get the, I think it's got like mica powders in it, so it gives it more of a pearlescent look. Okay, so let's get that one in. And this one is a silver, which is always nice to have in there. Okay, so we've got silver in. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add, let's get the alcohol inks done first. So I'm going to add a little bit of resin in each one. Okay, drop there. And you decide how much resin you put into each one. Obviously, if there's a certain colour that you want more of, you'd put more resin in. And, you know, there's a colour that you want less of, then put less in. Okay, so I'm grabbing some more lollipop sticks, just give this a stir. So you can see that this is quite translucent. If you want the colour to be a little bit bolder, you can add a little bit more to it. So you can see here again, this one's a little bit darker. So just give it a little bit of a mix in. Once you've mixed your resin together, so your resin hardener and your resin itself, you've got about, depending on the temperature of your room, you've got about 45 minutes. So obviously you don't want to be messing around, but equally you do have plenty of time to sort of make up your mixes like I'm doing. Okay, so I'm just going to pop these down here for a minute. Oops. Don't worry if you do drop a little bit on, because obviously we're going to go over the top of it. So now I've got my paint mix ones, so I'm just going to drop a little bit of, and with these you don't have to leave them, you don't have to leave them bland. You can, if you want to, you can add mica powders to them, and I think that's what I'm going to do with a couple of the translucent ones. So you can see here, this is the acrylics, and you can see it's a real block colour, so you won't be able to see through it, but it obviously gives it a nice, and again with the white here, it's a block colour, so it's a nice, you know, strong colour, because we don't want it completely wishy-washy. Now, okay, so let's see what else we've got. All right, I've got one more paint that I thought might be nice with it. So let's put a little bit of that. And this one's a little pearlised one, so a little bit minty. So let's put a little bit more. Okay. So again, this is going to be a block colour, but it's a pearlised, you see that? It's a pearlised minty one. Okay, so I'm going to drop that down. Now I'm going to put, this one's the alcohol ink one, and I think I'm going to put a bit more ink in, just to get that colour a bit more. Yeah, that's a bit better. So it's a bit more vibrant, the colour. Okay, stir that in. Now then, with this blue, I want to put some glitter in, and I've got some beautiful, what should we use? Well, this is mica powder. I might put that in the silver actually. So this is a silvery coloured, I've put them into my own pots, but most of the ones that I've got from the shop, and Sweet Poppy do some beautiful polished, like powdered glitters. You can use their mica powders there, fine glitters, all of that type of thing from Sweet Poppy are fantastic. And I'm just going to add, let's not do it that way, let's do it with this. So I'm just using a little scoop to put a little bit in. Now you can actually just, once you've poured your resin, you can actually just sprinkle over your mica. Okay, so I've just added it. I don't know whether you can see it in there. So it is sparkling in there. Okay, now then, let's pour. Just brush off my piece and just check again that you, because sometimes your tape might decide to come away a little bit. Once the resin's on there, it will stay in place because obviously the resin will hold it. So, oops, that's what I've got there. Okay, right. Let's put some glitter in this blue. So I've got this gorgeous Sweet Poppy blue glitter. So this is gorgeous, this stuff. I'm going to put 2 little scoops in of that one. Now, before you start, pouring, it's a really good idea to have a place in mind where you're going to lay this to keep it flat. Okay. Sometimes I'm not sure whether it's going to be overnight that this dries. It depends how thick the pouring is and obviously how warm your house is. So I've put the radiators on just to see if that'll speed it up a little bit. But yeah, you before you start pouring, make sure you've got somewhere ready to put your piece so it stays flat. And as I said, I've got mine on, it's on a, well, it's an old Amazon envelope, cardboard envelope, because I keep that sort of thing just for this type of thing. And then I've got silicone mats underneath, so it just, if the resin gets on it, it just comes away very easily once it's set. Okay, so I'm just going to use the edge of my scissors just to make sure this, I've got a little edge curling up, to make sure that it's not going to let any resin underneath it. Okay, so now then I've got to decide. It's all decision, decision, decision. So I think I'm going to start with my dark blue, and we don't actually, I mean, if you feel you can control it, you can pour it directly from the cup, but to be honest with you, the best way, and when we do resin classes in the shop, we never pour unless you've got a mould. When you've got a mould, you can let's put a bit more in there just so it's used up. When you've got a mould, you can actually pour into it because it's obviously you've got a lot more space for it to go. But when you've got small things or things like this that you want to control a bit better, use your lollipop stick to drop it onto your mat. Now I've got some of these, they're like tongue depressors that the doctors use. So I'm going to drop this along. Let's just move those so you can see. Oops, Daisy. So you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just dropping in. It doesn't matter, it doesn't need to be completely straight, because don't forget you've got your mask there, so you've got your tape stopping it from sticking to anything it shouldn't be. And you can make it a bit wiggly if you want to. You can have bigger bits sort of against it. Okay, let's go with the translucent bit. Or shall we go? No, I'm going to go in with the white a bit. So I've got a line of white. So let's, now this is, I'm just putting it next to it, but what it does tend to do is it'll climb on top of the, because white's a heavier colour for some reason, and it does tend to sort of like try to climb on top of the the resin that you've got on there. But what we're going to do, once we've got all our lines on, we're only going to work to about halfway, and then we're going to tilt it up and let it run, which is absolutely fantastic. It's ever such fun. Right, let's use a bit of teal translucent. You don't have to put all teal along the row. You can, you know, if you want to sort of do bits and bobs of other colours along the row, you can do that. It doesn't have to be completely, whoops, that colour. So I've got my silver now. So don't be frightened of putting it on, and obviously you don't want to put too little on because you do want this to run. So it's a bit like the paint pouring in that respect. You do want it to be able to move around and, oops, you know, so we get this beautiful formation of it dripping down. Let's have a bit of mint. I like these colours, they're working quite well. I do like to sort of do alternates, so you've got like a, if you can, it's like a translucent and then a bold opaque colour. Oops. It gives it a bit of perspective. Okay. And then let's go for, we've got this lovely pearly one, which has got some of our mica powder in. And there are so many different colours in the mica powders. There's just a wealth of them. They look absolutely stunning. And, you know, you can do all sorts with them. With resin, they are absolutely fantastic. So you can find most of your stuff. If you're a card maker, obviously Riverside Beads and Crafts has everything you need to get started. And they do have moulds as well. So, you know, you're not limited to doing just this. You can do moulds, which they sell. So they do like little bookmarks and bracelets, and they've just got in the round coaster mould. So I did some square coasters with MDF squares at Christmas, but they've just got the round coaster mould in, which is brilliant. So you can lay in that whatever you want. You can put dried flowers, you can make it coloured, and I tell you what looks really fantastic. If you do clear resin into it and then you drop alcohol inks into it randomly, and it looks absolutely amazing. A bit like marbling that we used to do years ago. It looks a bit like that, and also a bit like geode art. So when you do like the geodes with the gorgeous like crystalline centres and then the stripes coming out, you can get it to look really effective. And that's a really good one to start off with for you to have a go with, you know. Okay, so let's put another line of this gorgeous blue, which now looks a bit purple to me. But hey ho, it's ever so therapeutic doing this. The only stress is trying to decide what colours to use and which ones to put your mica in and which ones to just leave. Okay, let's put another bit of mint. Right, so let's put another bit of silver in. I know this takes quite a long time, and you can stop wherever you want to stop. Now, if you stop and you've still got bits of your resin left, I have one of the round coaster moulds, so I would use this up on my coaster moulds before it started to harden. So I would definitely use it up. Right, I'm just going to do one more of, I think. So all the drops on there, it doesn't matter at all. You can just leave those. Don't try and wipe them off because it's all going to run, obviously, when you tip it. So it all gets mixed in together, and sometimes these things work out and they look absolutely fantastic, but you can't do it again because you don't know what you did. So yeah, don't worry. Okay, so let's just do another bit of that blue there. So it doesn't matter if you go right the way down to the bottom. You can still obviously tilt and have all that movement. And it doesn't spoil the effect at all. Now before you tilt it, if you want to add any bits in, so you think there's an area, so like I might go in here and put in a bit of white in this bit, so you can put little areas in. Or if you want to, you know, something that you've done on there that you can't see it properly and you want it to be more visible, then go back in and do it before you tilt it up. Okay, so okay, so I'm going to lift this up so you can see it. Okay, so here's my, I'm going to tilt it a little bit because I haven't got anything in that corner. Okay, that's over that corner, and then I'm going to tilt it, so I'm just going to dab it a little bit there, and then I'm going to tilt it the other way, so you can see. You can bring it towards you, so I'm just going to tilt it up. I've got a little tiny air bubble there, so I'm just going to pop that. Okay, so I think I'm going to leave it like that. I quite like it like that. And once you put it back down again, okay, so once you set it back down, if you feel there's any area that you missed or you want to add a bit more to before it sets, you can go in and do that. So I'm going to just add a little bit of this blue again in this corner because I think I've kind of lost it a bit over this side. And then you can, you know, tip it up again if you wish. You can also go in with a cocktail stick and, you know, swirl it around a little bit, so you can bring it around. And so I don't know whether you can see that, but I'm just dragging it a little bit through the, so it looks as though it's sort of dripped down a bit. Use that bit up, a bit on the bottom there, and then I'm just gonna just a few twitches on it, tweaks I should say. Okay, so tilt it up so you can see it quickly. Okay, so I'm going to lay it down now, and then I'm going to leave it alone because you can obviously overdo it. We don't want to do that. So once you've settled on your piece, you want to leave it alone. Now this is a point where you can add extra sort of mica powder and stuff. I've got this lovely silvery mica powder, and use a cocktail stick, and obviously you've got more control over this. So I just want to, I'm just tapping the mica powder with my other finger, so I'm just tapping it off. And you can pop it where you want, okay, and then you can also, if you want, then to spread it about a bit. Okay, and I've got some white there that I want to use as well, so oops daisy. You can use fine glitter. I've got this lovely one which is called Diamond Frost. I think this is a Sweet Poppy one, but it's beautiful. So this one looks lovely on the white. Just a bit of sparkle. I'm not usually a sparkle girl, but because on this one I'm going to be using silver gilding flakes, or yeah, silver flakes. I'm going to be a bit more sparkly. Okay, so there's a couple of little, I'm gonna just run it over with my, not run it over, I'm just gonna give it a quick blast with the heat tool just to get any surface bubbles out. Okay, so stop now. Okay, so just bear with me a second and I'll just get rid of these air bubbles. Now, one thing to remember is that this not only blows hot air, but it's blowing, so you need to be careful that you're directly above it, so right over the top, not too close, and try not to angle it, because when you angle it, obviously it's going to blow your piece. Now you can use it intentionally for this, so you can use it so that it blows your bits around intentionally and also gets rid of your air bubbles. Okay, so that's done, and we're going to put it on the side to dry. And as I say, hopefully it's going to take about 24 hours. Okay, so I'll see you in 24 hours, 12 hours. Let's wait. My resin has dried. Okay, now you might think, oh yeah, that's changed a little bit. It has. I had to redo my resin. I didn't realise when I did the brown chopping board, so when I did this one, that I used all bold colours. Okay, and obviously on the other one I used translucent, so you can see it looked awful. Plus my tape, oops, let's move it over a little bit, my tape, it's sunk underneath my tape because I had the radiator on and I didn't realise how close it was to the radiator. So unfortunately the tape lifted up and the resin moved. So I just took the tape off and let it move to wherever it wants, just to leave that one. And then I'll sand it back, and then I will probably cover it with rice paper and do a different design on it completely so it's not wasted. So